The valley was silent, a heavy silence, the kind that pressed down on you, suffocating. The wind whispered through the tall grass, carrying secrets, secrets of the past, secrets of the phantom train. Locals spoke of it in hushed tones. A spectral train, they said. It moved silently through the night, no rumble of wheels, no hiss of steam, just a cold white light cutting through the darkness. They said it was a harbinger of doom, a ghostly reminder of a tragedy long past, and they said that to see it was to invite misfortune into your life. Old Man Hemlock knew the stories well. He had lived in the valley his entire life. He had seen the phantom train with his own eyes. He would never forget that night.
I was just a boy then, playing by the tracks. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the valley. Then I saw it, a light in the distance, growing brighter. I felt a chill run down my spine. I knew what it was. The phantom train.
The story of the phantom train began long ago. In the year 1888, a train was traveling through the valley. The Midnight Express, they called it. It was a dark and stormy night. The rain was coming down in sheets. The wind howled through the trees. Suddenly the train hit a patch of loose gravel. The engine lurched violently. The train derailed. It tumbled down an embankment. The crash was deafening, then silence.
My grandfather used to tell me about that night. He said the valley was never the same after that.
The Midnight Express was never seen again. Search parties scoured the valley, but they found no trace of the train, no wreckage, no survivors.
Some said the train had plunged into a bottomless chasm. Others whispered of a curse that had claimed the train and all its passengers.
The valley was forever changed. The air grew heavy with sorrow, and the legend of the phantom train was born. Years passed. The memory of the tragedy began to fade, but the stories of the phantom train persisted.
Locals reported seeing a spectral light moving along the abandoned tracks. Some claimed to hear the faint sound of a train whistle, a mournful, lonely sound. They said it was the engineer forever searching for his lost train.
Fear gripped the valley. People avoided the tracks after dark. They knew that to encounter the phantom train was to tempt fate. One foggy night, a young woman named Sarah was walking home alone. She was lost in thought, unaware of her surroundings. Suddenly she heard a sound.
A low rumble, growing louder. She looked up and gasped. A blinding white light was emerging from the fog. It was heading straight for her. She froze in terror, unable to move. The light drew closer. She could make out the shape of a train. A spectral train, wreathed in mist. Sarah screamed and closed her eyes, her mind racing with fear. The sound of the train's whistle echoed in her ears. When she opened them again, the train had vanished, leaving behind only the eerie silence of the foggy night. She ran home, her heart pounding. The fog seemed to close in around her.
She told her story to anyone who would listen, describing the train in vivid detail. But no one believed her. They dismissed her tale as a figment of her imagination, but Sarah knew what she had seen. The phantom train was real to her. She had seen the phantom train, its ghostly form emerging from the fog. The stories of the phantom train reached the ears of a young journalist named James. He was intrigued. He had always been fascinated by the supernatural. He decided to travel to the valley to investigate the legend for himself.
He spoke to the locals. He listened to their stories. He studied old newspaper articles and historical records. He was determined to uncover the truth behind the phantom train. But the more he learned, the more questions he had. Was the train real? Or was it simply a figment of people's imaginations? He was determined to find out.
James spent weeks in the valley, immersing himself in the eerie, mist-laden landscape. Each day he would rise with the sun, the fog still thick in the air, and set out on his quest. He explored the abandoned tracks, tracing the path of the long-forgotten railway. He interviewed countless people, each with their own version of the legend, their eyes reflecting a mix of fear and fascination. He even ventured out into the fog-shrouded valley at night, the darkness amplifying the sense of mystery. With only a flashlight to guide him, he navigated the treacherous terrain, his heart pounding with anticipation. Hoping to catch a glimpse of the phantom train, he stood on the railway tracks, peering into the fog, waiting for any sign of the spectral locomotive. The silence was deafening, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves.
But the train remained elusive, a ghostly presence that seemed to mock his efforts. The tracks, overgrown and forgotten, held no clues. It was as if it only revealed itself to those who were not actively searching for it, a fleeting shadow in the mist, always just out of reach. James began to doubt his own sanity. The endless search, the sleepless nights, the constant sense of being watched, it all took a toll on his mind. Was he chasing after a ghost story? The old newspaper clippings, the faded photographs, the cryptic notes, were they leading him to the truth or deeper into madness? Despite his doubts, he couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the legend than met the eye. The pieces of the puzzle were too compelling to ignore. The stories were too consistent, the details too precise. Each account, though varied, painted a picture that was hard to dismiss. The fear in the locals' eyes was too real, their voices trembling as they recounted their encounters. They spoke of the train as if it were a living entity, a malevolent force that haunted the valley.
One night, as James was preparing to leave the valley, he saw it, a faint light in the distance, moving slowly through the fog. He held his breath, his heart racing.
The light grew brighter. He could make out the shape of a locomotive, its ghostly form shimmering in the mist. He stood there, paralyzed, as the phantom train passed silently by. Then, as quickly as it had appeared, it was gone, vanished into the fog. James was left speechless, his mind struggling to comprehend what he had just witnessed.
James left the valley the next day, forever changed by his experience. The events that transpired in that eerie place had left an indelible mark on his soul. He couldn't shake the feeling that he had been part of something much larger, something beyond his comprehension. He had gone there seeking answers, but he left with more questions than ever before. The valley, with its dense forests and misty atmosphere, had a way of concealing its secrets. Every corner he turned, every path he took, seemed to lead him deeper into the enigma. What was the phantom train? This spectral locomotive that seemed to appear out of nowhere, moving silently through the foggy nights, had become the center of his obsession. It was as if the train was a bridge between two worlds, a portal to the unknown. And why did it continue to haunt the valley? The tracks, which seemed to vanish into the mist, held stories of their own. Tales of lost travelers, mysterious disappearances, and eerie sightings had been passed down through generations.
Some dismissed his story as the ramblings of a madman. They couldn't fathom the idea of a ghostly train haunting the valley. To them, it was just another tall tale, a figment of an overactive imagination. But others listened with keen interest. They had heard whispers of the phantom train before, and James's account only added to the mystery. They exchanged glances, their curiosity piqued, wondering if there was more to the story than met the eye. They too felt the pull of the unknown, the allure of the unexplained. The valley, with its haunting beauty and enigmatic aura, seemed to call out to those who dared to seek its secrets. It was a place where reality and legend intertwined, where the line between the known and the unknown blurred. The legend of the phantom train lived on, a chilling reminder that some mysteries are not meant to be solved. It became a symbol of the unknown, a testament to the fact that there are forces in this world that we may never fully understand, and that some stories are destined to haunt us forever. The tale of the phantom train, with its spectral appearances and haunting presence, would continue to be told, a ghostly echo through the ages, reminding us of the mysteries that lie just beyond our grasp.